welcome back, everybody. It's Fundraisers Friday. Woo, Tony Beall, how's your week been?
It's been fast.
Yeah.
I don't know how it's October. I don't know when that happened. Despite the color of my background, I'm not a big fan of pumpkins. So I don't know, but here we are. It's October. Uh,
It's exciting. It really
Although I
is.
do love Halloween. So, we're totally in costume mode, but, making costume mode. But yeah, I don't know how I got here so fast.
It's kind of crazy. I agree with you. I think for me, and we're going to be talking about the call to action process in fundraising, but I think for me, you and I worked so hard this summer to get the Architecture of Fundraising published and out there, and time just like blew by me. So it's kind of one of those crazy things. Before we get going too far in today's episode and topic, I want to make sure that I thank our amazing presenting sponsors. They include Bloomerang, American Nonprofit Academy, Staffing Boutique, Holdings Nonprofit Banking, Interim Executives Academy, Your Part-Time Controller, Fundraisers Friday, and JMT Consulting. I'm Julia C. Patrick of the American Nonprofit Academy, and I'm with the amazing Tony Beall and co-author of the Architecture of Fundraising. He is known as Mr. Nonprofit Consultancy. So talk to me about this like really cool background that you have and what's cooking with this orange.
With this orange, well, kind of, modeling some of the color scheme from the cover of the book. I am surrounded by orange today. But yeah, the Architecture of Fundraising, it's really based on 25 of our Fundraisers Friday episodes, and really just kind of taking the great conversations that we've had. And I say great because I enjoy every moment with you, Julia. I enjoy the opportunity, like I've said before, to maybe uplift folks in the work that they're doing, empower them, sometimes even give them permission to do the things that they weren't really sure they should be doing. And so we took those, some of those conversations, dived into them a little deeper, and created 25 chapters, again, based on episodes of the Nonprofit Show and Fundraisers Friday.
Tony, you said something, you always say magical things to me, and I'm always like, holy cow, you make me like really think. But one of the things that you said, which was so interesting in the green room, you said that one of the things you really liked about the Architecture of Fundraising is that it has a more holistic approach. Talk to us about what that looks like.
Yeah, so that's how I look at it through my lens, Julia, is that the Architecture of Fundraising speaks to everything and everyone associated with fundraising. So we speak to you as the fundraiser, the professional raising money. We speak to them as the donors, the investors, and then we speak to we as all of us in this and working towards just making our communities a better place for everyone. So it's these three pillars that reside, and that's why it's the Architecture of Fundraising, because these subjects and themes rest upon these three pillars in the book, and those are, building a career, developing relationships, and structuring success.
Yeah, it's really, I love this journey with you. I think it's absolutely fascinating to look at the underpinnings of a process, of a career. It's not just like go out and ask a bunch of rich people for money. It's so much different than that. And I think a lot of us, even as active as we might be or think we are in the philanthropic community, we still don't know a lot about fundraising. It's still a great mystery to a lot of people.
Well, it's very organic in many, many ways, fundraising. We know it. This isn't something that you or I created in terms of fundraising is all about relationships. I mean,
Right.
that's just a fact. No one has created that. That's
Right,
just the
right,
way it has always been. We've talked about how we may have called it different things throughout the decades, but it's all about relationships, and so we speak to that in the book, the value and the importance, and again, it's not necessarily that we are the creators of some of these methodologies or thought processes. But I do believe that we deliver it in a way that is accessible and a way that's easy for folks to digest, and not in a way that just baffles them about it even more.
Right,
uh,
or frightens them.
or frightens them. Good point.
Yeah, yeah. I like that you said that. It's so interesting. I was conducting a board training this past weekend with a group, a statewide group. Very important work, very, very important work. And they had asked me to come in and talk about a bunch of different things. But one of the big problems they were having was with fundraising. And I said, well, yeah, let's talk about it. And they were like, you could tell we started, and they were like, you know, some of the board thinks we should fire our development director because they're not doing what we want them to do and all this. And once we started talking about the relationship part of this and the process, most of them I really believe had dialing for dollars
Mhm.
in their mindset. That's all you
Mhm.
do. Get in there, get on the phones. And it
Mhm.
was like once we really talked about how this can look, and then we did a mock ask with their development director. I totally didn't tell him we were going to do it. I just said, young man, grab a chair, come up in front of me when on the stage, and let's have a chat.
Mhm.
Here's the scenario. I'm a
Mhm.
potential donor. Hit me with your best. And they
Yep.
were stunned. He
Oh,
was stunned. He was nervous, but he did a great job. But it clicked in the hubs, Tony, about this aspect of relationships.
mhm. Mhm.
Forever transformed this group. It was
And I'm
so
sure you got a good example of a call to action during that exercise as well.
well. Thank you for getting us back on track. Yes, we did. We very specifically leaned into the call to action. And so let's talk about it. That sometimes it's called the CTA and it stands for call to action. What does
Mhm.
this look like to you?
Yeah, so like the screen says, it drives an immediate action. It drives an immediate uh, reaction,
Yeah.
or response, and it can be used in many different ways. And we're going to talk about that a little bit today in our conversation. But the one, so a call to action is a really important part of your marketing message. So whatever it is that you're marketing, you want to end that, or somewhere within embed in that messaging something you want someone to do. Right? That's really again what that call to action is. And again, being mindful of the folks that are watching or listening and the varying sizes of organizations. If you have a marketing team, they're probably very in tune with the call to action and use it regularly and think about it constantly. If you are responsible, and often development professionals are responsible for writing the marketing content,
True.
for brochures, for websites, for social media, the call to action isn't necessarily top of mind because you're thinking about the story that you're trying to tell, or you're thinking about the short number of characters that you have, that you only want to use so many words in your social media because you got to save room for hashtags. It may not be the first thing that you think about. So what I would say to folks when you're crafting your marketing message, start with the call to action.
Mhm.
What do I want folks to do?
Mhm.
And start with the call to action, and then build the rest of the marketing message around the call to action.
Mhm.
So I think starting with your call to action when you're crafting marketing messages, one, allows you to have that always top of mind, but
Yeah.
then to make sure that whatever that marketing message is truly supporting the action or response that you're hoping to receive.
I love that. I love that idea, Tony, because it just helps you focus. And so often marketing becomes jumbled because we're trying to do too many things, say too many things. We have a sense of urgency and sometimes crisis, like hurry up, get this done. And I'd love that this could help us focus in as to what really works. Now, one of the things you mentioned, and I want to dig in a little bit, is that call to action generally is time sensitive. How do you see that, and what do those time frames look like to you?
Yeah, so I think it depends. upon the message. I'm trying to pull my words together here. Like, what are we marketing right now? And again, we're going to talk more about that. But was there some type of environmental event that took place in your community recently? And so, donate today to protect the roofs of 20 members, of our community, or give $100 right now to ensure that communities have food during the weeks of power loss. So, certain events within a community might drive a more time sensitive call to action in your messaging. You may have a good example on the screen was, a matching gift opportunity.
Yeah.
And a lot of times those do indeed have a timeline. So, donate by October 15th so that your gift will be doubled by our anonymous donor or by our matching gift program. So that's a good example of a time sensitive. I would not use a time sensitive buy your tickets to the gala, today. I think that, that doesn't necessarily, ring true for the time. When we'll talk about other call to actions for that type of opportunity, but time sensitive really should be time sensitive. And you should be very intentional about why it is that you're asking for someone to respond either today or within the next few days.
I think the matching gifts concept is so strong. I always have admired the National Public Radio affiliates who I feel like have dialed this up and made it so amazing, even down to the hour, of funding campaigns where they're like, XYZ plumbing company is going to match every dollar for the next hour or whatever. And I know even I don't want to say succumbed, but I have been persuaded by that, right? Because it is powerful. You're like, wow, I can only donate X, but if it's matched, I just, really doubled the impact. And so I think we don't necessarily look at this enough. And I think one of my favorite parts of the call to action match is that I think that you can get that sponsored because I think it makes a business look like a hero. It's great marketing for them, as opposed to a matching gift fund. But it's like, XYZ Plumbing is going to look like the hero for that next hour or day or week or whatever. And I think we need to lean into that. I think it's a great marketing tool to make American businesses look benevolent, right? So, I think
it's a good example.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Let's talk about impact framing. And I think this is another thing that's interesting because we started off by like donate today, but the concept here is what is that going to buy? How is that going to impact?
And everyone appreciates knowing how their donation is going to impact the mission of the organization, the community in which it's meant to serve. So I love framing call to actions with some type of impact messaging that allows the donor or investor to know immediately what that contribution is going to do. And even more specifically, the example being used today, every $50 gift feeds one student for a month. That's very specific. I can really latch onto that and feel great about my $50 gift. Or heck, maybe I'm going to make it a $100 gift because now I know that I can support two students, for a month with my $100 gift. And these are great, for ongoing programs. Again, those things that aren't super time sensitive. If you're feeding students, chances are that's something you're doing all the time. It's not something you're doing just for a season. Right. So I think that these impact call to actions are really meaningful and really cut right to the chase. I don't have to wonder about where the money's, how the money's being invested. And when I say that, I don't have to wonder how it's being invested. I'm not talking about the overhead myth and and all of the crazy thoughts that, we don't need money to run an organization. But that talks very specifically about how it's going to impact an individual or a community.
I like something you just said, which I think is really awesome, is that this allows a donor to make a multiple gift. Like, well, $50 feeds a student for 1 month. Well, I want to pay for 4 kids' lunch programs. I mean, it doesn't like just stop them at a certain amount. It seems like it gives them permission to navigate towards a larger gift, because they can be like, heck, instead of just helping 1 kid, I've helped 4, right? I think that's kind of like the magic of this.
And I think that you need to, as the marketer, the fundraising professional that's putting together these messages, especially when we talk about impact framing, one, it has to be honest and data driven. So it can't be a number that you just decide, oh, 1 sounds good or 5 sounds good. So you have to be, very intentional around the transparency and the truth around the impact framing. So just keep that in mind. And then also keep in mind, if it is going to be in it's Friday, so I don't know that my words are going as well today as usual. Just make sure that it's meaningful. So so for example, $50 seems meaningful and appropriate. Now, if that impact message has said, donate $1,000 today to feed 1 child for a month, then you might go, that doesn't really make sense to me. So making sure that, that just the message aligns, and that if you're asking for a certain amount of money, that really the impact supports that, and it doesn't look, again, my words, wonky or like it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you saying that, because I think that's like one of these refinement factors, right? It's like a CTA, great idea. Okay, yeah, I'm going to do it. But if you don't kind of move it through this process and refine it a little bit, it's not going to be as impactful. It's not going to be as powerful as you can make it. So
sure.
I love
and in all things that we do, we want to make sure that our donors know that we're fiscally responsible, right? And that we are really good stewards of the money that they've trusted us to invest in our community.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the one of my favorites, the boy action. And the boy is a really interesting thing because of you. In essence, that's how you get the word boy, because of you. And literally saying, look, you, donor, are the hero of the story. You allowed us to get 50 laptops to school students. You're the one that made this happen. And I think that's a really magical part of philanthropy.
It's a really magical part of it. And this because of you, for me, in the way that I view a call to action, this is kind of a wraparound to a call to action. So it's like, give today so that students will have laptops for next semester. And because of you and your gift, we can ensure that at least 50 students have access to the technology they need to succeed. So it's so important, again, that we, at every opportunity, remind folks that it's because of you that we're able to do this work. And it's perfect. It just sits with a call to action perfectly.
I think so too. And I don't know why we don't think of it as going hand in hand always, right? And maybe because it seems so boring or basic, but I think this is something that we are missing the boat on in the nonprofit sector. I think it's just like one of those things that, in the for-profit sector, you can't really use this very much, right?
No.
Because of you bought a fancy, car, you're going to feel better about yourself. I mean, we kind of send those messages, but I mean, right? This is just, I think, such a great fit. And I think it's just something that really we need to be looking at more and more.
I'm glad you called that out. It's really important.
It really is. You mentioned this at the very top of the episode today. I have always thought of that call to action as a financial funding issue. But really, there are other ways to use this. And I'd love to explore some of that. It's not always an emergency, but a lot of times it is.
Mhm.
You brought that up, like say storm related damage or, an environmental disaster that we got to get action on. Um,
Mhm.
let's talk about some of these other things.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, CTA could be specifically for funding, engagement. Click subscribe so you get updates whenever there's a new YouTube episode uploaded, depending on, on your marketing strategy. So uh, share this post with other folks that are interested in adopting or adopting dogs or cats or whatever. So the engagement piece really is that call to action. Uh, Mostly I see in social media or in peer-to-peer fundraising.
Okay.
Invite 10 friends to join you at the Walk for the Animals.
Mhm. Yeah.
Hit the share button right now and share with 10 of your friends. So the call to action for engagement. Uh, Tickets, I love this one, Julia, because there are so many different call to actions. I know historically you would see RSVP today, and that's all you'd see, RSVP. Click here to RSVP, call this number to RSVP. But now you see things like save my seat,
Right.
and there's just different ways of these calls to action that are a little more progressive and a little more fun, quite honestly. Don't have FOMO. Fear of missing out. It's save
Yeah.
yourself from FOMO, and
Yeah.
register today. So there's a lot of fun ways now that we can do call to actions for ticketing, for different types of events. Volunteering is really kind of the same thing. And item donations. Someone I know just recently on social media was looking for clothes for students back to school, and the call to action was contact me today, and I will make arrangements either to pick up your donation or make it easier for you to contribute. Uh,
Mhm.
so many different ways
Yeah.
that we can use the call to action. The important thing really is just to make sure that you have one, because otherwise it's like leaving your messaging without punctuation.
Right, right. I love that you said that. I was also thinking, especially during this time where we sit in the middle of a government shutdown. I feel like the call to action can also be used for policy. You know, reach out to your leaders to encourage them to vote for this or support us, or I think it's the amplification of an idea or a mission that we can be building champions, right? We can be saying, yeah, we need to be talking about this, or we need to be joining our community to support or illuminate this idea, whatever it
Mm-hmm.
might be, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Well, yeah. So that list we just looked at, we should add advocacy to that,
yeah,
because you're absolutely right.
yeah. Yeah. It's an interesting thing. I think for so many years, and this is another show, nonprofits were really afraid to imperil their 501(c)(3) status by becoming too political, right?
Sure.
Or, I mean, that there was always like this fine line of how do we advocate? How do we lobby? How do we, push our message, in that policy format. And so I think it's kind of an interesting aspect of it. But I believe personally we need to lean in on this.
Well, and again, it's how we frame it, and we've talked about kind of framing a couple of times in today's conversation, and so when you talk about the advocacy piece, it's not political. It really is supporting legislature that is going to better the community that you serve. So it's not as if the messaging is political and that you should lean this way versus this way. It really is advocacy that supports your mission, that supports the folks that are meant to benefit from the work that your organization is doing. So I think, again, if folks can start framing it that way and stop thinking right or left or middle, and start framing it around how does this legislature, how does this whatever it is, support or not support the community that we serve, and that's what should drive our communication.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I think it's really important. It's a sticky wicket right now. We have over politicized so many things. But I agree with you. I think it's a good way to think about this. And I love that you used the word framing. We don't have a lot of time left, but you said something really interesting about save your seat versus RSVP. And it's just a different way of communicating. And I love that. I think you are right, because nobody wants to miss out. Save your seat. I mean, you want to get the best seat. You want to get up front. All of those messages that go through our minds, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we kind of just pulled together some action words that we can hopefully use and, I don't know, encourage. I love stand with.
Mm.
I think that's a really stand with us, by supporting this mission financially,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever. And the only problem, not the only, but the big problem I think with this is that it does sound a little political. It can be misstrued a little bit, I think. I don't know
Yeah, I
what do
really
you think
like
about that?
join. So I
Join.
was just recently working on our AFP chapters monthly newsletter, only to the extent that I was just kind of helping to review it, because we have a great marketing team here locally that supports our communication team, that supports our messaging. But yeah, so I used, join our community. Are you a member? And so really AFP membership and be part of the AFP community was what I was saying, and to join it. So I
Yeah.
really like join a lot.
I think it's a good word. I really do. Well, we just wanted to kind of give some ideas there.
Sure.
Sometimes when you're looking at putting things together, it's so arduous. And if you can get just a little help or inspiration, I think it goes a long way. So we wanted to definitely, make sure that that was something we ended with. Well, my friend, the Architecture of Fundraising is now out. You can get it on Amazon. It will be delivered to your door. I don't know about in your community, but in my community, they're testing Amazon drones. And these books might just come be dropped by your front door by a drone.
If anybody orders the book and gets it delivered by drone, please take a video of it arriving by drone.
We do need to see that. We definitely need to see that. Oh my gosh. Well, it's really a great read. I'm very, very proud of it, Tony.
Me too.
I want to call you out because Tony is the designer of the cover, which is super cool and super
So fun.
sexy. I just love it. And so it's really, really a great way to think differently about fundraising.
And
And
it's a great way to, the motivation really behind this, Julie, I just want folks to know, was just to have somewhere to consolidate all of these great conversations that we've had, and the decades of experience that we get to share with each other on a weekly basis. So it's such a legacy project in many ways. And, with the hope that it, again, will empower, encourage, others just to be the best that they can be in the work that they're doing.
yeah, I agree. I think, and that's how I want to live. That's the type of person I want to be. And I know you are like that. I mean, so I love the way you phrased that and that you framed that to follow the theme of today. Yeah, really fun. And we hope that you let us know what you think. It'd be really
For
fun
sure.
to hear what you have to say. Again, I'm Julia C. Patrick, CEO of the American Nonprofit Academy. Been joined by the amazing Tony Beall, Mr. Nonprofit Consultancy. Reach out to us. You can reach out to us on our socials. We're there all the time, but you can also email us at info@americannonprofitacademy.com. One of the blessings of this call to action conversation today is that we have presenting sponsors, And they are Bloomerang, American Nonprofit Academy, Staffing Boutique, Holdings Nonprofit Banking, Interim Executives Academy, Your Part-Time Controller, of course, Fundraisers Friday, and JMT Consulting. Really, really fun to have the support of so many of these folks. Tony, we're going to hit our 1400th episode in the next week or so.
Congratulations. That's amazing.
It is. It really is. So, but we could not do it without the support of all these people. Mm-hmm. As we lean into the weekend and we think about all the things that we've accomplished this week and all the things that we get to do next week, I want to leave with this message, and it goes like this: to stay well so you can do well.